Hello everyone and welcome to Poser's Full Movie Recaps. Our today's movie is a classic American psychological horror thriller film, which is the subject of remakes throughout the decades. Let's find out what makes this film special, so watch it and enjoy it. In the city of Phoenix, Arizona, a woman named Marion is in a hotel room with her lover Sam, who is visiting Marion to spend some time with her. Sam, however, is still in the process of finalizing his divorce, so he cannot able to commit a serious relationship with Marion. The divorce process broke him financially because he had to pay a large sum of settlement to his ex-wife. Marion is disappointed with all of this, so Sam promises her that they will find a way to make their relationship work. After leaving the hotel, Marion comes back to her work at the realtor's office in a hurry. Her boss walks in with a wealthy client, who hands him a wad of cash amounting to $40,000. The guy wants to purchase a house as a wedding gift for her daughter, who is about to marry soon. The boss asks Marion to deposit the money in the bank right away, and she put the cash bundle inside her handbag. She proceeds to ask her boss if she can take the afternoon off after she deposits the money, which her boss allowed her to do. After she leaves the office, Marion goes home instead of going to the bank. She decides to steal from his boss and run away with the money, so she packs her things in her travel bag. She plans to use the cash to start a life with her boyfriend Sam, so Marion starts to drive away from the city towards the town where Sam lives. She drives as fast as she could and keeps on driving even at night, and when she gets too tired, she pulls over at the side of the road and falls asleep. A deputy notices her car and tries to wake her up through her window, which startled her but composes herself in front of the officer. Even though she is feeling nervous about carrying stolen cash, she shows her driver's license and registration to the man, and the deputy eventually lets her go but feels suspicious of her. He follows Marion into the town and watches her from a distance, and when the girl notices the police car, she decides to pull over when she sees a car dealership. Marion plans to exchange her current car with a new one, in hopes that it would be harder to trace in case her boss learns about the missing money. She takes the first car offered to her and drives off fast when she sees the deputy coming over to the dealership. She continues driving until the heavy rains force her to stop in the first motel she sees, which is Bates Motel. Planning to stay for the night, Marion goes to the receiving area but nobody seems to be at the reception. She tries to honk her car to get the attention of the silhouette she sees at the house right across the motel, and a young man quickly shows up to receive her. He welcomes her into the reception and she learns that she is the only guest staying at the motel, due to the newly built highway that most people use nowadays. The young man introduces himself as Norman and gives her the key to cabin 1. He shows her the room and extends his hospitality by offering some food and inviting her to join him for dinner. When Norman leaves, Marion gets settled and decides to hide the money between the pages of a newspaper, and just put it on a nightstand, hiding it in plain sight. When she overhears some voices yelling from a distance, she learns that Norman's mother doesn't allow the man to bring a strange woman inside the house. A moment later, Norman shows up with food, and they end up having dinner in a parlor next to the reception. He tells her about his passion for taxidermy and his close relationship with his mother, despite all the yelling she hears earlier. He apologizes for her mother's behavior and informs Marion about her mental disability, and adds that she's his only best friend in the world. When Marion casually suggests putting her in a mental institution for treatment, Norman's friendly demeanor suddenly changes. He starts spewing about his love and devotion to his mother, which makes Marion feel weirded out by how Norman replies to her suggestion. Marion then excuses herself and goes back to her room to rest. After Marion leaves, Norman moves a painting on the wall that has a peephole, which allows him to see straight into the first room among the cabins. He creepily watches Marion for a bit and returns to his home to loosen up. Meanwhile, Marion, not being aware that Norman has been watching her, decides to take a shower. While enjoying the warm water from the shower, someone shows up with a knife and starts attacking her. Marion succumbs to the several wounds inflicted on her, and she passed from losing a lot of blood, which leads to her demise. Norman starts screaming from the house when he seems to discover what his mother did. He runs back into the motel and quickly enters Marion's room, only to discover her lifeless body in the bathtub. Instead of reporting the crime to the police, Norman takes some cleaning materials to the room and starts to clean the crime scene. She takes Marion's body into the trunk of her car, together with the rest of her things and her suitcase. He goes back inside to take the folded newspaper, and throws it into the trunk too without knowing that it contains a lot of money. Norman drives the car into the nearby swamp and sinks the vehicle into the water. A few days later, Marion's disappearance has been noticed by her loved ones, and everyone starts to worry about the girl. Her sister Lila visits Sam at his workplace and demands to tell her Marion's whereabouts, but Sam is just as clueless as her. Lila hires a private investigator named Arbogast, who confirms the suspicion that Marion stole $40,000 from her employer. When Arbogast leaves, he goes around town asking several people if they have seen Marion. During his search, he stumbles upon Norman at Bates' motel and shows him a picture of Marion. He denies ever seeing her and tells the private investigator that he doesn't have any visitors in the past few weeks. Arbogast asks Norman if he can check his register, and the man handed him the guest book. He found the last entry on the guest book named Marie Samuels, which is an exact match with Marion's handwriting. The PI gets suspicious and Norman starts to get more nervous. The motel owner tries reasoning that it's hard to track the time and that he doesn't remember every people who passed through his establishment. He tells Arbogast that Marion stayed on a rainy night, but leaves very early in the morning. The stutter in Norman's speech just makes the PI more suspicious, and asks if he can further check all the cabins within the motel. Outside, he sees a figure standing by the window at Norman's house, and the young man reluctantly admits that it is his mother. Norman slips that Marion might have met his mother, so the detective asks if he could speak with her. Norman quickly refuses and makes up some excuses about her well-being, and tries to send Arbogast away. The detective goes to call Lila and informs her about Norman, and the new information he gathers from the encounter. He also tells her about the possibility of Norman's sick old mother chatting with Marion, so he's going back to Bates' motel to question the mother. When Arbogast returns to the motel, he finds no one in the reception so he proceeds to sneak into the house. But while inside the old house, someone attacks him and he falls off the stairs. He gets attacked again by an unknown assailant, and the private detective lost his life. Somewhere else, Lila and Sam wait for Arbogast to call them again, but the woman is getting impatient. Lila wants to go and check the motel herself, but Sam initiates of going to the establishment himself. When he reaches the place, he cannot find Arbogast and just see a woman's silhouette through the window of Norman's house. He goes back into town and tells Lila what he found or has not found, and assumes that the detective is just somewhere else checking for further clues. Lila is not convinced by this, so the two decides to visit the town's sheriff to ask for help locating Marion. They tell the sheriff everything they know, including the money that Marion stole, but he just thinks that Marion run away because she has a lot of money. The guy is not very helpful to them and decides to call Norman, to assure the duo that everything is alright. Norman answers and tells the sheriff that the detective went away, and after the call, the sheriff tells Lila and Sam that Norman's mother has been dead for 10 years. He adds the circumstances of her death, in which she poisoned the guy she's been with and took the same concoction herself afterward. This new information surprises Lila and Sam, because Arbogast clearly told them that he saw an old woman by the window of Norman's house. Even Sam corroborated this story, but the sheriff cannot do anything more for them. At Bates' estate, Norman enters his home and appears to start arguing with his mother loudly. He seems to tell her to hide in the fruit cellar, but her mother refuses even when his son adds that it is currently dangerous, because the police might be coming for her. Norman is seen carrying a woman, while the woman still shouts her protest. As Lila and Sam continue their search, they come across the sheriff again while the man is walking out of a church. The two hope for an update, and the sheriff informs them about his visit to the Bates motel but finds nothing. Again, he assures the two that Norman is living alone and tells Sam that he must be hallucinating. After the sheriff leaves, Lila and Sam decide to investigate the motel themselves, disguised as a married couple, as they plan to stay at the motel for a night and sneak into the house to get more information. Norman welcomes them and checks them in at the motel, but he watches in suspicion as they walk into their room. When they thought Norman isn't around anymore, the two enters cabin 1, which was the room Marion stayed according to the private investigator. In the bathroom, they find a small discarded scratch paper with Marion's handwriting, which contains some computation for the $40,000 she stole. They think that Norman or someone took an interest in the money, and that's the reason that Marion is now missing. Lila becomes more eager to sneak into the house, while Sam tries to caution her about Norman's presence. He tells her that he will try to distract Norman while Lila sneaks in to find his old sick mom. Inside, Lila investigates the rooms while Sam talks to Norman, but the young man grows suspicious and knocks out Sam on the head. He runs back to his house and Lila is forced to hide in the basement. When she reaches the basement, she finds his mother in the fruit cellar. She screams after seeing that she is in fact dead, which Norman hears, and he rushes into the basement while holding a knife and dressed as his mother. This reveals that Norman is the real culprit all along, and as he approaches Lila, Sam suddenly shows up and the two start to fight. It turns out that the sheriff is right that Mrs. Bates is dead, but for some sick reason, Norman dug her out and keeps her dead body with him. After they overpower Norman, he gets arrested, but the psychiatrist diagnoses him as having two personalities. One thinks that he is his mother while the other one is the Norman himself. They learn that he's been dominated by his mother since childhood, and when she had a boyfriend, Norman got extremely jealous and thought that she was replacing him. It is also revealed that Norman was the one that kills his mother and her lover all along, and later develops a split personality as his mind starts to deteriorate. His mind fights for what he did to his mother and tries to erase the crime from his memory. To help himself cope, he stole her body, preserve it, and keeps it with him for the last 10 years. Every time the Norman part of him feels attraction towards someone, his mother persona emerges and becomes jealous and enraged. The film ends while Norman is in the interrogation room, while his mother's voice in his head talks about how it is really Norman who committed all those crimes, and not her. Thank you for watching today's full movie recap. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more future full movie rundowns.